Good evening. Prior to coming into this room tonight, we had a closed session. Some of the items that we discussed appear on our agenda, but not all of them. So I'm going to turn it over to our board attorney now to update the information that appears on the agenda.
Thank you, Madam President. With respect to number 4, matters concerning negotiation, and specifically, the board discussed a WWPSA grievance, and the board discussed a potential sidebar agreement with the WWPSA. With respect to box number 7, matters involving anticipated or pending litigation, in addition to the items listed on the agenda, the board also discussed docket number MER-L-10-16-18. The board discussed a workers' compensation matter under docket number 19, WC 04464U. And the board, and that was all, Madam President.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our student for his report.
Good evening. My name is Sakith, and I'm tonight's High School South representative. So I'm just going to run through some of the events that have happened in the recent past at South. To start off, China Night took place at South last Friday and was very successful. Both South and North Chinese clubs look forward to organizing next year's China Night. Tonight at 7, the North versus South boys varsity basketball game began, and we'll see how that turns out. Last weekend, South Model United Nations awarded Outstanding Small Delegation at the Ivy League Model United Nations Conference, which was a great achievement. Both orchestra and choir festivals, which were combined concerts between High School South and Grover, were extremely successful. And finally, on February 19th, there will be a job and volunteer fair at High School North. That is all, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for your report. That brings us to the first opportunity for public comment. The board invites thoughts and reactions on agenda items and items of concern from members of the public who are present. Each participant is asked to give his or her name and address prior to making a statement, which will be limited to 3 minutes. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. Well, seeing as we have no public comment tonight, we'll move on.
And Madam President, I do apologize for interrupting one more time, but I did miss one more docket number just to get it in.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so sorry.
No?
The last one was for box 7, OAL docket number EDS-06833-19S, and that is all.
Thank
Sorry.
you. That's going to move us ahead now to the voting portion of our meeting. We're going to start with administration items 1 to 5, but, plus our yellow addendum. And I'd also need to, on administration item number 2, there are 2 additional HIB cases that need to be added. They are 207534-CMS-0203-2020 and 207472-HSS-0131-2020. So with those 2 additional cases, plus the yellow addendum, could I get a motion on items 1 to 5? Robin and Martin. Are there any questions on the administration items?
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Sovich.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
And Ms. Keish.
Yes.
Okay.
We have no curriculum and instruction items tonight, so that moves us over to finance. Could I please get a motion on finance items 1 through 4, plus our blue addendum? Rachel and Tony. Are there any questions or comments?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Sovich.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes, but for item 3, abstaining on wireless devices and services.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can I add something also too? I'm sorry.
Yes, yes.
I'd like to abstain for voting on finance item 1-A. I apologize.
No problem. And Ms. Keish.
Yes.
Okay.
No need to apologize. We all forget tonight.
Presentation.
Right. So it is that time of year. So we're going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Russo for our first presentation on the 2020-2021 budget.
I always say I'm going to have entrance music for this. I'm going to walk in doing this. But, yeah, it's true. And then just do your curtains once we get started. All right. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Very close to the mic.
There you go. I'm good now. Everyone can hear me? All right. Welcome, everyone. This is, we do a presentation pretty much once a month. January, we don't, because there's so many other presentations. Getting back into the budget presentation mode. This will be some history and current budget where we are. So the mission statement, we go over each year because everything we do during the course of the year ties back to the mission statement. So building upon our tradition of excellence, and we can read that. To a diverse and changing world with confidence, strength, and character and love of learning. One of these days, I'm going to ask the board members to recite that when I'm standing here. Okay, strategic goals. We've gone through the strategic goal process. We believe that every individual has intrinsic worth, and then we embrace diversity. We want each child to reach their full potential, and we have our strategic goals. Value in their individual learning journey. Goal 1 is understanding that all students have diverse needs and backgrounds and approaches. Goal 2, embracing a rapidly changing world, empower learners to assume active roles in their communities and to engage in global activities. And 3, recognizing that children need to balance physical, social, emotional, and academic needs, and will maintain a supportive culture and build structures for health and safety. All right, proposed budget. What is a school budget? It's a planning tool. It considers contingencies. It manages risks. It must be financially responsible. It has to reflect the local ethos, and it must consider safeguards and buffers. You don't know how important a statement that page is compared to other districts in the state that none of those ideas are maintained through the budget process. So this is in place is a pillar of financial stability. Okay, the budget process goes on all year. As soon as one budget's approved in May, April, we're back at the process, working towards the next year. We have meetings all year. We have first BOE retreat in December. We'll have another BOE retreat in February, just to discuss the budget. We meet with the budget managers, anyone dealing with the budget, the department chairs, et cetera. January through March, I stand up here and bore everyone. February 25th should be the governor's address. February 27th, we should get our state aid numbers. March 10th, hopefully we vote on the budget to be submitted to the county office. And April 28th should be our hearing to approve that budget that was approved by the county office. Budget stressors that we see as of now. The last time we came before you at our retreat, we didn't have the first one. It was unknown at that time, and that's Project Freedom. I got the name right this time. We have several students with special needs coming out of that development that we did not realize that would be coming out of that development. And it appears as though there's no reason that there should not be more students with special needs. Because as the name describes, freedom means freedom of movement and access to facilities in that complex. So right now, as we sit here, we're looking at least $1 million in tuitions that we did not anticipate at the beginning of this year, and/or when we started to create next year's budget when we spoke to you a month ago, 2 months ago, in the end of December. Facilities custodial contract renewal, that we knew that was going to be an increase. We're looking at a $1.5 million increase on our current program as it exists today. Healthcare costs, we're going to see a mid-year 2021, January 2021 increase. We're just coming off a difficult renewal, and what I mean by that is we left the state health benefits 24 months ago, 18-month rate lock. Then off the 18-month rate lock, they tried to increase premiums by double digits. There was a very stern negotiation, and it came in at 6%, the renewal for this year. 2% of that is the ACA tax. So it was a 4% renewal with a 2% ACA tax, 6% when they were coming in at 12%. Staffing needs, because of just needs and the issue above, special education has additional staffing needs due to program growth. Transportation has additional routes due to special education. Salary increases as per the negotiated agreement, and the energy savings improvement plan, the first year cost before operational savings. What that means is we're not going to, it's not like you snap your finger and you start saving money. They're going to be building the project over the course of the year, so you can't immediately reduce your energy savings lines, your energy cost lines, and your appropriations. And so we're bearing the cost of that in the first year. So that was a little bit, that's going to be a little bit of an increase. But from here on out, we'll see the savings. District accolades. Right now, from these slides on, will be current information, not going into the 2021 budget, just to give you an idea of where the money goes currently. So district accolades, the business office for the 11th consecutive year received a certificate of excellence for the CAFR. That's for the audit. Meritorious Budget Award for the 6th straight year for the preparation of the budget itself and how that process is put together. And that slide that I mentioned earlier, the fact that a budget is acknowledged as a planning document other than a final document, that's part of that whole process. Budget history. Tax levies increased by 2.2% on average for the last 5 years. The local levy represents 89% of the district's operating budget. And then you see a quick history of the general fund amounts. That number was 90% a year ago. We did receive a $970,000 additional aid, so that that went down from 90% to 89%. Estimated revenues of all funds, that $185,000 number. This is out of the Meritorious Budget Award document. You won't see these items represented this way in the future. You'll see them represented differently, but it's out of that Meritorious Budget Award document. So as you see, this is the general fund, and then the rest of the funds here make up that little wedge of the larger pie. Total functional appropriations. Again, these are pretty much the areas of how the budget is broken out. And this, again, this will come up in pretty much all areas. But again, this is for the sake of the Meritorious Budget document. You see these two areas with no money next to them. You have capital expenditures, which we budget during the year once it goes. So at the beginning of the year, it's not there. And the adult school, which we no longer fund at the beginning of the year. That's why there's those lines that have no dollar amounts to them. But again, regular instruction, this blue makes up the majority, and then you have the special education right here. You have student activities here, support services here, improvement of instruction, administration, operations and maintenance, student transportation, employee benefits, big chunk. I shouldn't say it that way. That's foreshadowing future slides. No, but anyway, you see how the budget's spread out. Regular programs. If there's one thing to new members or members of the public that don't realize, the budget is pretty much fixed cost. So out of this, for regular programs, the only thing that's discretionary is right here, that little bit. The rest are fixed costs and salaries right there. That's pretty much how a school budget looks, no matter what the area. Notice the same thing in special education. Then we got some general supplies down here. These are salaries. A school district is a labor-intensive entity. It's a service industry. Federal projects. This is just, we get questions on, what kind of grants do we get? What's it look like? So we have to budget 85% of the previous year in case the feds choose to cut funding to some of these programs. So the reason this drops off is that's 85%. But if you notice, the majority of the money we receive is an IDEA. Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Education Act? Equal Act. Yeah, Education Act. State projects. This slide is in here because at the last meeting I was asked this, and I think the person that asked it isn't here. It says, what does state projects mean? Well, it's non-public textbooks, non-public auxiliary handicap services, additional services, nursing, technology. It's for the non-public schools in our community. They receive aid as well. We're in charge of ordering and supporting those programs for them. We act as the local education agency or lead education agency. It's required. School-sponsored athletics, you see that kind of maintains in the same, the same appropriations. Tuitions, you just see they were dropping because we were bringing students back, special education students. We were bringing back into in-house programs. We had to budget a little more for anticipation of students going back out. Guidance services, you see the increase. This is support for students. That's why we chose to keep this slide, because it shows that we are making commitment to the students on their social and emotional side. Media services, we've had the media media services review. Notice that in the current budget there has been a commitment to additional appropriations. Transportation, notice the change in this line. Pretty much all these kind of stay relatively the same. Special education transportation is larger right here. Demographic data. There's all kind of information out there. And it's interesting because one of the first things I got when I got here, I said, do you still want to see this demographic data when we do a presentation? And I was told, absolutely, I do. And I said, because my predecessor, his reports were from niche, and I would say niche, but I'll say niche tonight. And it would literally, what's interesting in the next slide when I bring it up is the information I thought was most telling isn't there, and that's the fact that we compare ourselves to Princeton, but when it comes to testing data, they really don't compare to us. But that was left out because I don't know why, we just left it out. We went with other issues because we figure it doesn't really say much. It's just a rating. Ranking in New Jersey, high school rankings, 2019 from niche. Princeton is 10th. Our schools are 13th and 24th. However, student-teacher ratio, we're right in the ballpark as well. Notice south and north are right here. Cost per student. Again, I don't know their data points because there's nothing that comes up with this number. And I'll explain that in a minute. Meaning of any documents that I have or that the state puts out. So it's obviously some kind of analysis they did and they put it together. Average teacher salary, again, is right there. That's from niche. I realize that's its own entity collecting its own information. The guide to educational services and educational spending, this is from the state. This document is from school district audits. So this is actually put together by the Department of Education. So what this shows growth since 2002, 2003, because I realize everyone says, wow, how much are you spending per child? Meaning, how much more has the budget gone up? How much this, how much that, how much has it increased? This is just really an increase. So check Princeton. In 0203, it was $11,525 per student. It's now $20,444. And this is budgetary. What that means is this does not include the cost of pensions for teachers, and it doesn't include transportation and some ancillary costs. This is what the state calls budgetary. Hopewell Valley, it went from 10,000 a night to almost 20,000. WWP went from 10.5 to 13.6. Montgomery's gone from 8 to 15.6, and the New Jersey average, they really don't print that anymore. Taxpayers Guide to Educational Spending again. District's over 3,500 students. So this is the budgetary number. These are from district audits. Notice where we are, we're at 13.6. Notice everyone else's cost per student. Student-teacher ratio, we're right in the ballpark. We're the highest, but we're in the ballpark. Student to administrator ratio, we're the highest, more students per administrator. Median teacher pay, second lowest, and there's no union. Everyone, any union people. Anyway, facility money per pupil. So this is facility dollars. So if you notice again, we're at 1368 compared to the other districts. So U.S. News and World Report. So this is interesting. Again, this U.S. News and World Report. Ranking overall of best schools in New Jersey. Princeton is 12. These are high schools. 16, 17 for North and South. Montgomery's 29. Hopewell Valley drops to 63 for overall districts. This is including magnets, I think charters, and
Like the high-tech high, Votex.
yeah. Does that make sense? They're often focused.
The academy.
Academies. That was the word, academies. Thank you. So if you eliminate the academies, this is where it ends up. Princeton ranks 1, we rank 3 and 4 individually. Montgomery's 12, Hopewell Valley's 41. And SAT scores, and this is from the school performance report. Notice SAT scores, North is the highest. Other reports have ours combined at 1331, which again, higher than. So overall, you know, there's always questions about budgets. There's always questions how money is spent. However, we rank pretty favorably with the best districts in the state and the best districts in the state with similar demographics. So with that, I'll remind you that state aid notices we should receive Thursday the 27th, which is also CUSAC Day. Budget adoption is March 10th, and the public hearing on the budget, which is the final vote on the budget, will be April 28th. That's the day that we would have the municipalities in with us, and they typically meet with us to discuss the budget. So with that, are there any questions? And realize this is on the current budget. The information you've seen is the current 1920 budget, not the 2021 budget. All right, hearing none.
Thank you, Dr. Russo. So we'll just keep moving along. Next up on our agenda is personnel. Can I get a motion, please, on item 1 plus the green and pink addendum? Graylin and Dana, are there any questions or comments?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. McCune.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Zovich.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes?
Ms. Case.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge 2 retirements that we just voted on. Mary Parker, a science teacher at Grover Middle School, is retiring after 26 years with the district. And Joan Resnick, a special education teacher at High School North, is retiring after 27 years with the district. I'd like to wish them both well in their retirements and thank them for all their hard work in our district. Could I please get a motion to approve the minutes from January 28th? Rachel and Tony. Oh, you weren't here. Okay, I'm going to change that because Rachel wasn't here. So Tony and Dana.
Mm-hmm.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any abstentions?
Abstain.
Mm-hmm.
Here they come.
Okay.
Martin and Rachel. Any opposed? Do we have any liaison reports? Any new business? Second opportunity for public comment. 15 minutes will be provided at the end of our meeting for public comment. Each participant is asked to give his or her name and address prior to making a statement, which will be limited to 3 minutes. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer.
Joy Horton, 10 Hopkins Court in Plainsboro. I have a question about the budget. So the part when you were mentioning about how much money is spent per student, how do you know in this district, since so many of the parents spend so much money outside of the school for extra academic excellence, paying for tutors and things. So how do you know, like, what do you weigh that against? And do you also weigh it against how well the underachieving or underperforming students have been doing over the years? If whether or not that money that you're spending per pupil, if that has really been making any type of difference. That's, really basically my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, that'll close the public comment. I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent because he has something to say.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, the board, when you accepted the personnel agenda, we also accepted the resignation of one of our district administrators and one of our principals. So I didn't want to let the meeting go by without acknowledging the services of Dr. Carter for the past 10 years to the school community. Dr. Carter served at Community Middle School as both the assistant principal and for the last 7 years as the principal of Community. She was my first recommendation as principal from the superintendent's team. So she was my first principal recommendation. Dr. Carter and I worked together back in 2003 on and off for the past 17 years together. So we wish her well on her journey as she goes to become a middle school director of a private school in Pennsylvania. We will miss her dearly, and in the days and weeks to come, we'll follow up with the PTSA representatives at Community as well as the leadership and teachers at Community to solicit feedback, and we'll start a process. But for now, we just work to recognize and thank Dr. Carter for her service to the district.
Thank you. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Martin and Robin, all those in favor? Say aye. We're adjourned. Thanks for coming out tonight.